Hey, good evening, everyone. This is a pre-recorded live cast, so I'm not really live, but on behalf of the Rescuing Our Community initiative to expose the misconduct within the Staten Island Richmond County District Attorney's Office, I am Clayton, your narrator and host, here to discuss another occasion when my civil rights, victim rights, and overall humane rights were violated by the Office of the Staten Island Richmond Attorney's Office. This incident, like the previous incident, has absolutely nothing to do with my ex girlfriend. So it's not a domestic violence issue, so people can't prejudge me and think that I'm just an angry black man who's using my ex girlfriend situation to unfairly judge the office of Michael McMahon and unfairly discriminate or accuse him of a narrative that I can't prove without substantiated evidence and a previously, I want to say, verifiable track record of misconduct between his office, and myself. Again, as I have previously said, the misconduct of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office did not begin with Francina Evans, my ex girlfriend. It actually began in 2020 when I was falsely arrested for allegations that were placed on me by Gwendolyn Carr, the mother of the late Eric Garner, the mother of mourning, as she calls her movement on Staten Island, and I believe it is the president of the Garner Foundation, which is the charity that was started to honor the memory of Eric Garner, the unfortunate black man who was killed by the NYPD on Staten Island when they cut off his breathing path, causing him to lose breath and ultimately lose consciousness and then his life. Injustice on Staten Island is a real problem for African American men. And as I said yesterday, it is a great injustice that Gwendolyn Carr is responsible for the violation of my civil rights, which she most certainly is by the proof I provided that she did file a false report on me to the NYPD, which the Richmond County District Attorney's Office used to maliciously prosecute me for 2 years, leaning on the death of my mother and hoping I was so emotionally broken that I would ultimately cop out, which people I did because I was tired of going to court. And I could not get the legal answers I needed because I was being told that the ACD they were offering me was a dismissal. Being more legally knowledgeable now and competent, I know that was a lie, that it's not a dismissal. It was something that was used to just get an end so that the DA's office could make it appear as though they did their job, even though they knew they maliciously prosecuted me. The incident I'm going to talk about tonight involves a gentleman and four other people who assaulted me on June 13th of 2020, which was the evening after I found my late mother, the Rev Dr Maggie Howard, deceased on her bedroom floor at 43 Tompkins Avenue in Staten Island, New York. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, my mother passed several years ago on June 13th, as I've said, 2020. I was called to the home this evening by her assistant pastor, Reverend Buford Carter, and told that my mother fell down the stairs to hurry up and come there. Now, thinking she was hurt and being a good son who loved his mother, I dropped everything I was doing. I was about an hour away in Brooklyn, and I immediately jumped in my car and raced through the streets of Brooklyn trying to get to Staten Island, figuring out what was wrong with my mama. I called her numerous times during this trip. She never answered, which really scared me because she always answered her phone for me eventually, unless she was in church. And I knew she wasn't in church because this gentleman had just called me and told me she was hurt. I traveled through the expressway and the Staten Island Expressway and the streets of Staten Island till I get to her home. And as I said previously, I believe it was yesterday I told the story, and it kind of depresses me a little bit, so I don't want to go into the full details of it. What I'll do is I'll fast forward past when I found her deceased, and I'll stop at when I was disturbed by an officer of the NYPD who came and disturbed me while I was holding my mother's lifeless body and asked me could I identify a woman at the door who was my sister. Now, when the NYPD finds someone in a home, someone deceased in a home, they have to consider it a crime scene until an investigation is done. So what they did was they told me, excuse me, first, that no one was allowed in but immediate family because they needed to determine what the cause of death was. So I said, fine, and they asked me to wait there. And of course, I was going to wait by my mother's body. I wasn't going to leave. So I waited there. And as I wait there, they tell me the only people who can come into the home is the immediate family. Her mother, her father, her children, myself and my sister, or her brothers and sisters. No cousins, no aunts, no nieces, no nephews, none of that. And grandchildren. They said grandchildren could come also. So my responsibility became notifying the NYPD when one of these groups of people came, either my sister, my mother's mother, her brother, or her granddaughter. Any of them, I was supposed to notify the NYPD. So now when the NYPD comes to me and they say, hey, your sister's downstairs. I said, okay. I come down the stairs. I put my mother down. I go down the stairs to identify my sister so she can come past security. But it's not my sister. It's a woman who's my cousin who's pretending to be my sister to try to get past the police. Now, in fairness to my sister, she has the right to see her mother's body. So if the police are telling me my sister's the only one that can come past them, I have to identify my sister. I can't lie for this cousin and say she's my sister. What happens when my actual sister comes here? So people, I didn't lie for police that this young woman wasn't my sister. She was my cousin. And I tried to calm my cousin and her husband and people who were there as best I could. But my mother dead on the floor. I was emotionally a wreck. And I'm saying to these people, I'm saying, I don't know what happened. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm a little in shock. Just give me a couple of minutes. As I turn to leave, her husband, my cousin's husband, screams out, you did this, and swings at me. So I managed to catch the punch with my shoulder, and before I know it, all of these people rush onto the porch and rush and attack me. What the hell did I just do? I don't know what I just did, but I know I got to fight. So I hit him immediately. Boom, I hit him, he falls. I hit the girls because they're 300-pound women coming at me. They're huge women. So I'm like, I can't let them keep hitting me. They swing and they try to hit me. I hit them too. Two-piece one of them, she falls out. He's already out the way because I didn't hit him with a right hand. So he's done. So now it's like 4 other people trying to get me. Finally, these two huge women, I believe it was his wife and my cousin Jasmine's girlfriend, jump on me. And these are 2 big women. They had to be a total of 500 pounds apiece. I fell under their weight. This guy grabs my left leg and twists my leg like these people. The pain was excruciating. Oh my God, I didn't know what the hell happened. But I know the police managed to pull him off my leg. He lets my leg go. The new pastor of my mother's church is everybody pulls these people off me, and I try to stand, and I can't. I keep falling. I'm trying to stand. I keep falling. I don't know what the hell why I can't stand. So I finally crawl in the house. I'm okay for the most part. I got a couple of scrapes and scratches, but I'm fine for the most part, except the fact my foot is killing me and I can't stand. Naturally, I was in shock, people. I found my mother deceased that night. So I was not aware of totally what happened, but the NYPD did arrest, I thought all of them, but I found out later one of them for this assault and charge him with an assault and take him to jail. The rest of them, they did nothing to. The other 4 people that attacked me, the NYPD did not arrest that night. They only arrest the gentleman who twisted my leg and caused the injury where I couldn't get up. And now, to just start my live cast, I'm going to show you documentation to verify this because remember, people, again, documents don't lie. People lie within documents. So I'm going to show you the criminal complaint filed against the individual who assaulted me. I blocked out some of the material to protect this person's identity because the truth is it happened so long ago. I would prefer not to start this conflict up again, and I don't want to make it look like I'm maliciously attacking anybody. And I want to show my enemy is honestly the DA's office. Anybody else I'll deal with on a personal level, but this is about the Staten Island District Attorney's Office. So let's begin. This is a copy of the criminal complaint filed against the individual who assaulted me on the night of June 13th of 2020 at approximately 11:05 a.m. And it basically tells you that in front of 43 Tompkins Avenue, my mother-in-law's home, that I was the victim of an assault, which was a 3rd-degree assault and harassment in the 2nd degree. A 120, a penal law 120, and a penal law 240-26. And that the defendant did intentionally cause physical injury and with the intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person, struck, shoved, kicked, or otherwise subjected such other person to physical contact or attempted to threaten or do the same. The opponent states that he observed the defendant with the intent to cause physical injury, caused such injury to Clayton Howard that the defendant struck the victim in the face with a closed fist, resulting in injuries including but not limited to substantial pain to the left side of the face and the left leg, as well as causing the victim to experience annoyance and alarm. Now, do I believe this report is accurate? No, but for 2 reasons. One, this gentleman did not punch me in the face. I could lie if I wanted to, but when he swung at me, I managed to catch the punch with my shoulder, so I blocked the majority of the punch. So he didn't get a clean shot on me. Now, the leg is a totally different story because I could not walk after this assault at all. I spent the next year of my life not being able to fully move because when this gentleman grabbed my leg, he snapped my Achilles tendon and I couldn't walk. So, in the next document, I'm going to show you is medical proof that that happened before we move on to the next component of our broadcast. So, let's go back here. Let's open you guys up to the medical injuries of Dr. Polano. So this is my medical diagnosis from the injuries I obtained by this guy after I was gang assaulted on June 13th, 2020, the night that I found my late mother, the Rev Dr Maggie Howard, deceased in her home. Because of these injuries here, as you can see, is that it says the male who comes in today complaining of left ankle injury that occurred on June 13th, patient states that he was assaulted by family members. He went to Richmond County University Hospital. He had some imaging done. He does not have x-rays with him today. He states he was given crutches, although he has been ambulated. Now, they describe the injuries after their diagnosis, and it says the location of the patient's problem is the left ankle. The cause of injury was due to an assault. The date of the injury was June 13th of 2020. The injury struck the place around the hours of 9:30 at 43 Tompkins Avenue. The injury was 7. On a scale of 0 to 10, the pain was effectively a 10. On a scale of 0 to 10, the pain was at least an 8. The patient had the following test studies: an x-ray at the hospital. The patient has not been treated for this problem before. The patient has not had surgery for this problem in the past. The patient has not had physical therapy for this problem in the past. The patient was disabled and unable to work from 6/13 to the present. So basically, from this injury, I find out that I have a completely severed Achilles tendon and I require physical surgery. And because of this injury, people, I believe it is on 7/13 of 2020, I have Achilles surgery and spend the next 8 months trying to walk again on 2 feet. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go to, I am going to show my lovely audience, not criminal coercion. Yes, that's it. So what we're going to do now, audience, is we're going to show you a couple of legal definitions so you understand. The first one is going to be what constitutes a gang assault in the state of New York. So we asked ChatGPT a question because everyone, we like to use ChatGPT to provide our audience with the simplest answers possible, so you, the common non-lawyer like myself, can understand things as simply as possible to get the point across quickly and effectively. So I asked ChatGPT the following question. In the state of New York, if a group of individuals were to assault one person on private property where that person has lived, and this assault resulted in the victim being seriously injured where the victim required surgery as a result of the assault and remained disabled for almost a year, would this be considered a group assault, a gang assault, and what would be the criminal charge? So that was the question, audience, so I can state it clearly without stuttering. In the state of New York, if a group of individuals were to assault one person on private property where this person once lived, and this assault resulted in the victim being seriously assaulted where the victim required surgery as a direct result of the assault and remained disabled for almost a year, would this be considered a gang assault, and what would be the possible criminal charges? ChatGPT responds as follows. Yes, under New York state law, the scenario you described would potentially meet the legal definition of a gang assault, a serious violent offense depending on the factors and circumstances. Key legal definitions. Gang assault, New York Penal Law 12006 and 12007. There are 2 degrees of gang assault. Gang assault in the second degree, which is a Penal Law Section 12006. The elements of a gang assault in a Penal Law 12006 are as follows. With intent to cause physical injury to another person, meaning that the crime was done, the group of people came together with the intent to cause physical injury to the person. That's the first criteria. The second criteria is that aided by two or more other persons actually present, they assaulted and did cause physical injury to this other person. Two, the third and final is the defendant causes serious physical injury to another person. That's a Class C felony, punishable by 3.5 to 5 years in state prison. That is the consequences of a gang assault under New York State Law 120 Penal Law 12006 of the New York State Penal Law. Now, the second category of a gang assault, what the hell? The second category of a gang assault is Penal Law 12007. Same elements as second degree, but the injury must be serious physical injury. So, people, the same criteria as what is this? The same criteria as gang assault in the second degree is the same criteria that means gang assault in the first degree, but there's additional factors that make it a first degree crime. Why will these damn notifications not stop? Oh my God, people. I cut the volume off. The iPhone is still bloop. Anyway, so gang assault in the first degree, Penal Law Section 12007. Same elements as second degree, but the injury must be serious physical injury. That's key, people. And a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument is used, or the injury is life-threatening or causes protracted impairment. Remember that, people, protracted impairment. That's a Class B felony punishable by 5 to 25 years in state prison. Serious physical injury defined under New York state law as injury that creates a substantial risk of death, serious disfigurement, or long-term impairment of health or bodily function, which applies to myself, audience, because I was disabled for a year because this guy intentionally snapped my Achilles tendon. People, I could not work. I had to live off of my insurance money given to me by my mother because of what this guy did to me. But the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, you're going to love this, people. Wait, actually, let me finish. You can also be charged with something other than gang assault. Gang assault is definitely a potential here, people, because I was assaulted by 5 people and a serious injury was given to me, to which I was required to have surgery and spent a year recovering after that surgery due to the damages caused to my person by this person who intentionally hurt me and admitted this to the police. So the other potential charges are assault charges in the first degree for the individual who harmed me because I was seriously injured. People, assault in the first degree or assault in the second degree. It could have been a conspiracy amongst the 4 people who attacked me, and criminal facilitation, menacing and harassment, amongst other charges. People, it was definitely a gang assault, and it was a serious injury because, again, I was injured to the point where I required surgery and took a year to recover. People, that is the 100% criteria of a gang assault. We don't have to be Bloods and Crips, people. We don't have to be Crips, Bloods, none of that, people. All what they have to do is work together as a group of people for the purpose of hurting another person. And if that person is seriously injured, people, that makes a first-degree crime. If the person is just jumped and beat up, it's a second-degree crime. But if you're seriously injured and it results in death or long-term impairment, that's a first-degree gang assault, which I am 100% a victim of. But the Richmond County District Attorney's Office never charged the people who assaulted me. And do you know why? Because they were prosecuting me for Gwen Carr. And because they were prosecuting me for Gwen Carr, people, they refused to acknowledge that I had just been gang assaulted after finding my mother dead on the floor. And I did nothing wrong, people, but follow the directions of the police. And the police can verify that's all I did. I didn't start a fight. I came downstairs. I identified this woman as my cousin and not my sister, like she falsely represented herself to police have. And then I was going back in the house. So, people, what did I do to deserve to be jumped by 5 people? Why was I denied the justice of the Richmond County District Attorney's Office by prosecuting these 5 people together for the gang assault that resulted in me being crippled for over a year? But it gets better, people. You would think that with all of those officers there and 5 people assaulting me, that the Richmond County DA's office would have at least put a protective order on the person they arrested that assaulted me. But not Mike McMahon's office once he found out it was Clayton Howard. Oh no. Mike McMahon refused to give this guy an order of protection to allow the gentleman who assaulted me to the point I couldn't work to be able to come to my mother's funeral. Because people, if he had an order of protection, I was her son. He wouldn't have been allowed to come in. So Mike McMahon ordered his prosecutors not to put an order of protection on this guy so he could go to my mother's funeral. Even though this guy assaulted me and I was crippled at my own mother's funeral, the Richmond County District Attorney's Office refused to put an order of protection on this guy. They did not do it. So people, for a year, as I'm going to show you now, from one email, I spent about a year contacting the Richmond County DA's office trying to get some type of answer about what was going on with this guy. Hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing? Like, can somebody tell me something? Because again, people, you got to remember, I was crippled. I wasn't able to move around. I was trying to figure out what was going on with regard to the district attorney and why I wasn't receiving any phone calls or any contact as the actual victim, considering I had been seriously physically injured. I made numerous attempts to call the district attorney's office. I had attorneys call the district attorney's office. No one returned any contact, although I was the victim of a violent crime and had been gang jumped by 5 individuals, resulting in my serious physical injury that required surgery and rehabilitation that lasted almost a year. The Richmond County DA's office refused to call me back, grant me an order of protection against the person who assaulted me, and in the end of this, charge him with a misdemeanor, despite the fact that I had been seriously physical assaulted, had medical proof that it was a direct result of the injury and the attack, and none of the other defendants had ever been arrested. Now, people, you would think that that was the end of that situation, but unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't. About a year later, when I would say 80% recovered doing physical therapy. I was just started to date Francina Evans, my insane ex. She and I are going, I forgot where we were going this day, but we were going out this day to have fun. The relationship was good at this time. Her mother had started to become jealous of me because she was spending too much time with me. So despite the fact that we were going to go out, her mother had demanded that she go out with her to get her nails done. So this woman says, my mother's sweating me. She wants me to go out with her to get her nails done because I've been spending so much time with you. So I'm going to just give her some time. She didn't really want to do it, but she says it to me. And people, again, I didn't have a problem with her staying with her mother. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go get a haircut. You do that. By the time I'm done getting a haircut, considering y'all getting your nails, you should be done or just about done. And I can chill away for you. That's nothing. I didn't really care. She was staying with her mother. I had no problem with people being close to their mother. I had just lost mine about a year before that. I go into a barbershop on Bay Street in Corson, I believe it's. Maybe it's Victory in Corson. There's a barbershop over there. And I usually go to this barbershop. So I go in and I didn't have any cash on me. I said, you know what? I'll just get it out the barbershop. So as soon as I walk in the barbershop, who do I see? I see the gentleman who assaulted me a year prior, people. This was the first time since the funeral I had seen this gentleman. And immediately, people, my defenses went up. But I said, you know something? I knew how I felt from what they did to me that night. People, I was angry and I wanted revenge. I wanted to tear this guy's head off. But I knew this wasn't the time because, people, I didn't feel my leg was good enough to match somebody who had assaulted me and been working out the whole time. I knew I was still a little bit weak, so I wasn't 100% confident that I could take him at that moment. I was wrong. But in any event, I see this gentleman. I said, you know what, Clayton, just go get the money out the ATM and go across the street to the other barbershop. Cool. I go to the ATM. I put my card in. I'm ignoring him. He's staring at me the whole time, ladies and gentlemen. As I'm putting in my PIN number, he says, are we going to talk now? And people, I was actually shocked this guy spoke to me, but I said, dude, you know what time it is, dude. I would suggest you leave me the F alone. And I kept doing what I was doing. He says, yo, you keep saying me and my wife jumped you. That was a mistake. That should have never happened. But if you keep saying this, she's going to get arrested and I'm going to have to do something. I say, yo, homie, I would strongly suggest you leave me alone. This is the last warning you're going to get. And as I go to take my money out, he jumps to stand up. Now, people, I'm not one to let a nigga get too close to me too quick. So I introduced him to a right hand and a left hook that put him right on his back. And from standing to his back, I jumped on top of him and proceeded to beat the living crap out of him. I did a pretty good job, people, because the barbers had to pull me off of him. And after the barbers pulled me off of him, I realized that his son was with him. So his son is in the corner screaming, oh, my God, daddy, you beating up my daddy. You beating up my daddy. This big punk jumps up, runs out the barbershop and says, "You're going to get yours. You're going to get yours." With the kid, he runs out the barbershop, jumps in his car, he takes off. I was going to take off, but the barbershop guy is the one who says, "Yo, bro, you should call the cops because you never know what this guy's going to do. This guy's a punk." I said, "You know what, bro, you're right." And I think I do got an order of protection on him because people, the Richmond County DA's office told me as the victim of the first assault for this guy that they gave me a 1-year protective order against this guy. This is what they told my attorney. This is a fact. Now, people, I call 911 and I wait there with the barbers who are laughing at the fact that I beat this guy up in front of his son. They're laughing there behind him. I'm waiting there for about an hour and the police don't come. Finally, maybe about an hour, like I'm saying, after waiting, I get a cell phone call and it's from the new pastor of my mother's church, Lamont Allen. I said, "Hey, Lamont." He says, "Clayton, where are you?" I said, "I'm at a barbershop on Victory and Boulevard. I just beat up Jeremiah. I just beat up this guy who assaulted me. Why?" He says, "Yo, that guy just came to the church looking for you with a tire iron." I said, "What? Why would he come to the church looking for me? Why would I be at the church? I just beat him up at this barbershop. He knows I'm here. He ran out before me. Why would I leave?" He said, "I don't know, man, but where are you, man?" He got a tire iron. Him and your cousin Alicia, she got a bottle. They trying to jump you. I said, "Man, I ain't worried about them people. I'm good now. He could come and try that if he wants. It's only 2 of them. I got him today." And people, I was dead serious. That they had popped up on me. It was about to be World War III. He said, "Clayton, I'm serious. Where are you?" So I told him, I said, "I'm at this barbershop on Corson Place up by Victory and Bay." He said, "Oh, I know the barbershop you are, Corson Place. Okay, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. Clayton, stay in the barbershop." I said, "If that nigga come here, it's going to be World War III. People, as soon as I hung up the phone, I look out the barbershop windows because it was a big glass window in the car this guy and my cousin owned pull up. They pull up in front. He jumps out waving the tire iron. She got the bottle. She's like, "Whoa, what's up now?" She's like, "What's up now? This is his wife. What's up now? What's up now?" Now, pause for a second. People, men, when you get into a fight with someone, if you can defeat that man, you're not going to go get a weapon. You're not going to go get a bat, a tire iron, a stick, a brick, a 2x4, a chain, a knife, a gun. You're not going to get a weapon because you know you can beat this guy. Let's talk about men in the military. Men in the military are trained to protect themselves in the art of self-defense and the art of attack. Most guys in the Army are going to make you think they're the most proficient, jiu-jitsu, all of this stuff in the world. So this guy was one of those people. Now, people, if he and I have a fight in one place, he and I, one-on-one, and I beat him and run away, what would make you think that this guy would go back home, get a tire iron, which I'm going to show you from the complaint I'm about to show you, and come back with another individual for me? And I was alone, people. That goes to show you 2 things. 1, this guy is a coward if he went and got his wife to come back and help him jump another man. 2, he clearly could not beat me if he had one fight with me, lost, and decided to go back, get a weapon and another person to reapproach me to get his get back. So clearly, the fact that he left, came back to that barbershop with a tire iron and another individual to jump me, shows that he must have lost that first fight and did not think if he came back with his hands, he had a chance of winning. So he went and got the tire iron, believing that the tire iron would give him the edge on me and he would be able to seriously injure me with the tire iron, gain the advantage, and be able to kick my behind. That was his intent. He came with a tire iron to physically assault me because I had beat him up the previous time he was there about an hour before the incident that I'm about to refer to. He comes back to this place. He goes to the barbershop window. He's swinging the tire iron at the barbers because they told me to stay in. They're trying to protect me, these barbers. He's trying to hit them with the tire iron. They don't want to get hit with the tire iron. People, they move out the way. He comes in the barbershop and attack me. I said, "Oh, damn, Clayton, you got to fight." So, people, I got to fight him. I'm trying to stay away from him. He's swinging his tire iron. I knew I only had 1 shot. I said, "I think I'm going to have to take some of this tire iron and I'm going to have to do everything I can to park him when this tire iron hit me and I can restrain him." So that's what I did. He swung towards my head. I tried to block it. Some of the tire iron did hit me and split me. But I hit him with a right hand that split his entire forehead open. He starts leaking. He falls to the floor from the shot. I jump on top of him, throw the tire iron to the start, proceed to whoop his ass. Excuse the profanity. And that's what I did. The barbers break it up. He's beat up. They carry him outside. They separate me in the barbershop. The police are there. They got us separated. Everything's cool. Now, people, this guy hits me in the head with the tire iron. I'm bleeding from the side of my head because he hit me in the head with a tire iron. He tells the police that he wants me arrested because I assaulted him. I'm telling the police I got an order of protection against this guy. A year ago, he assaulted me when I found my mother dead on the floor. He just picked a fight with me. The barbers are confirming that he came back with a tire iron and just attacked him with a tire iron. He hit him in the head with a tire iron. The police find the tire iron. This is the police report from that incident, ladies and gentlemen, because again, people lie within documents, and the police are not going to lie within this document. Their report that charged the deponent. So let's see what this officer's report says that charges the gentleman who assaulted me with assaulting me with the tire iron. And then we're going to get to some questions on. This is the criminal complaint filed against the gentleman who assaulted me with a tire iron on July 18th of 2021 at a barber shop located at 7 Corson Place in the Richmond County District of New York City. They charged this gentleman with criminal possession of a weapon in the 4th degree, that was the tire iron, menacing and second assault, because they knew from the witnesses that came there that he came there and attacked me and I didn't do anything to him. Assault in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. In that the defendant, who's the guy who attacked me, did knowingly have in his possession a rifle, shotgun, or firearm in and upon a building or grounds used for educational purposes of school, college, university without the written authorization of that educational institution, intentionally place or attempt to place another person in reasonable fear of physical injury, serious physical injury, or death by displaying a deadly weapon, dangerous instrument, or what appears to be a pistol, revolver, rifle, shotgun, machine gun, or other firearm. Intentionally cause physical injury and with the intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person, struck, shoved, kicked, or otherwise subjected such other person to physical contact or attempted or threatened to do the same. The offenses were committed under the following circumstances. The opponent is informed by Clayton Howard that the above mentioned date and time, location, the defendant did unknowingly possess a weapon, namely a tire iron, in that the defendant did take the said tire iron and strike the informant in the face, ribs, and arms, causing the informant to suffer numerous injuries, including but not limited to a laceration about the eyebrow, requiring stitches at the local hospital. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Because again, documents don't lie, people do. At the local hospital. Substantial pain about the head, as well as causing informant to suffer substantial pain, fear of physical injury, and to be annoyed or alarmed. The opponent is informed by the defendant, the person who was charged. People, this is big. I'm sorry. I let my emotions get the best of me. I have only been arrested one other time, and it's only because of my history with him. I did get a tire iron, and I did hit him. I don't know where I hit him with it, but I know I hit him. Now, people, the person who assaulted me with this tire iron on July 8th confessed to hitting me with a tire iron. He confessed. People, ask me what happened to that case. Now, people, I was arrested. They arrested both of us. And this is when I found out that no order of protection was ever placed on this guy after the first assault, where I was seriously injured and disabled for a year, that happened on the night my mother died, which was June 13th of 2020. They never placed a protective order on this guy, which is a mandate under New York state law if a victim suffers serious physical injury. Injury that requires a party to have surgery where they're off their foot for a year is a protracted bodily injury that meets the criteria of a major assault, people. Two or more parties that come together for the intent to harm another person and that obtain that harm, that's a gang assault, Your Honor. Audience, excuse me. But the Richmond County DA's office didn't charge those people because it was Clayton Howard, the black man who Mike McMahon has a heart on. Now my mother was dead, people. Mike McMahon was determined to destroy me. So he would deny me victim rights. He would deny me due process. He would allow people to assault me, even possibly kill me, and then cover up those assaults so the offenders would get away and allow malicious prosecutions to continue against me. What Mike McMahon did was Mike McMahon secretly dropped these charges behind my back, despite the fact that my attorney contacted the Richmond County District Attorney's Office and told them explicitly that I wish to cooperate against this gentleman and have him arrested for this second major assault. Because people, the first time he disabled me, the second time he tried to kill me. But that was not good enough for the Richmond County DA's office, people, and I want to show you. Is this it? Nope. I'm sorry, audience. This is not it. Forgive me. Wrong email. Let's go back. Give me 1 second. I will find that email for you. Ah, that's it. Oh, crap. All right. 1 second. I have too much in here. Bear with me, beautiful people. Should be good now. Yeah, it's good now. We're making good time today, people. We're well under an hour. This is good. Okay. This is an email from my former attorney, Mr. Gary DiFilippo of Staten Island. And he notifies Natalie Barrios, the clerk of the judge of the Richmond County District Attorney's Office that was handling the cross prosecution from my arrest after I defended myself against a man who seriously disabled me a year ago. Because people, that's the truth. This guy came at me with a crowbar in a barber shop. I was defending myself. But the DA's office of Staten Island and the NYPD executed me and prosecuted me because I was defending myself against a man who had assaulted me a year prior, who they had failed to put a protective order to protect me as the victim of a violent crime that required surgery and my rehabilitation for over a year. They felt that as a black man, and Mike McMahon felt as someone who he was after and intended to destroy, that I didn't deserve any rights. So he failed to put a protective order on some people to the extent that I required surgery. I was disabled for a year. He put no order of protection for me. For this one, they did, but they dropped the charges behind my back, and I'm going to show you how. This letter was written to the district attorney. This letter was written to the clerk of the court by my attorney, who resigned himself. Now, this attorney resigned himself. He resigned probably on November 4th of 2020. And it's because I would not agree to pay him a $30,000 retainer to sue the Richmond County DA's office and declined to represent me after I paid my deposit, which was something I was not legally capable of dealing for at the point. We learned the lessons. We learned to become better people. But he did contact the court of the clerk to let them know that he was recusing himself. And he says, I'm writing with regard to this matter because I was informed yesterday that after I withdrew from representing Clayton Howard on August 16th of 2020, a letter to the clerk of the court and anger that no new attorney was assigned to represent Mr. Howard. Further, ADA based upon an email to you advanced to appoint new counsel, and that ALS Villa was asked to. I contacted the court clerk Laura Meyer yesterday, and she informed me that my name was still on the docket and that the case against Mr. Howard and the cross complaint against the defendant were both dismissed. Apparently, something fell through the cracks. Something fell through the cracks. People said this guy assaulted me with a deadly weapon. Inconveniently, the Richmond County DA's office let something fall through the cracks, so his case was completely dismissed. So was mine, and I was completely locked out of the procedural due process requirements of a victim of a violent crime who was assaulted with a deadly weapon. People, why did the Richmond County District Attorney's Office refuse to contact me or provide me with counsel as they were instructed by my attorney? I'm going to tell you why. Because at the time of this, they were still prosecuting me for Gwendolyn Carr. Still. And people, they would not give me an inch. They knew this guy had assaulted me a year prior. They knew they had failed to put an order of protection against this guy. As you saw from the criminal police complaint, this guy confessed to hitting me with a tire iron. People, let's go to ChatGPT again, and let's ask ChatGPT a few questions. Let's ask ChatGPT. I want to ask ChatGPT. And actually, let's make sure our screen is up. We do that sometime, people. Yes, it is up. Okay, cool. In New York State, is a tire iron considered a deadly weapon if one party were to strike another party upon the head? Yes, under New York state law, a tire iron can be considered a deadly weapon or a dangerous instrument, especially if used to strike someone in the head. Legal definitions in New York State penal law. Deadly weapon, penal law 10, subsection 12, it looks like. This term includes specific items, firearms, switchblades, and does not explicitly list the tire iron. So, tire iron is not a deadly weapon by statutory definition. Dangerous instrument penal law 10, section 13. Any instrument, article, or substance which under the circumstances is which it is used, attempted to be used, or threatened to be used, is readily capable of causing death or other serious physical injury. Under this more broader category, audience, a tire iron is definitely considered a dangerous instrument, especially if it's used to hit somebody in the head. People, how did the Richmond County District Attorney's Office drop charges against someone who was arrested with the tire iron and admitted in a police report that he assaulted the individual who required stitches, had a concussion, had bruised ribs, and numerous lacerations from an attack with a tire iron? People, what happened? What did I do as a victim defending myself against a man who came at me with a tire iron when another person jumped me after he attacked me originally in a barbershop, and I defended myself again because there was no order of protection on it? Ladies and gentlemen, some of you may think that this content is inappropriate, but people, I think that social media was the best place to bring it to, because as we know that the media nowadays at large, the mass media, the public media, they lie to us, people. They purposely withhold valuable information of us so we as citizens do not know what's going on in our local, state, federal, and federal governments, or internationally, people. The mainstream media, as it's called, is notorious for hiding information from private citizens. Why would the local media want you to know about the misconduct of your local district attorney's office? Of course, they want you to know about misconduct when it's something major. But when it's part of the system that supports local corruption, which is the malicious prosecution of minorities, people, the malicious prosecutions of minorities support local law enforcement. It's a fact. I'm not the only person who has ever been framed by the NYPD. The NYPD is notorious for framing people, falsifying evidence, falsifying narratives, withholding exculpatory evidence. People, the things I am saying are not above the previous history of the local Staten Island District Attorney's Office or Staten Island Police Detective Squads. I'm not trying to insult every officer. I'm speaking about the officers I have proof have definitively violated my rights. I'm not talking about all the employees, people. I'm talking about the advocates that have specifically and directly violated my civil rights. People, I'm giving you examples. I'm giving you examples that don't relate to domestic violence at all. Gwen Carr wasn't a domestic violence situation. It was a false report for unauthorized use of a vehicle that I was later able to prove that I had authorization, that the alleged victim had given me the key and had been receiving payments from me for over 90 days. This victim, angry that I wouldn't pay a toll bill she was unwilling to verify, lied to the Richmond County District Attorney's Office, whom she had personal connections to as the mother of the late Eric Garner, the slain individual the Staten Island NYPD was responsible for killing. The district attorney uses this pathetic black woman as a puppet. So considering she had this connection, she used her connection to get Mike McMahon to maliciously prosecute me. When Mike McMahon's office became aware that I had paid Gwendolyn Carr and that I was telling the truth, they maliciously prosecuted me upon the death of my late mother, who many people see was allegedly a friend of Mike McMahon's for over 2 years, until I was so emotionally broken I took an ACD just to end the matter. I'm showing you now that I was assaulted by 5 people and made to be disabled for a year that required surgery, people. And guess what? The Richmond County District Attorney's Office charged one of those individuals with a misdemeanor and put no order of protection against him. They granted me no protection as the victim of a violent crime who was subjected to physical injury that disabled him for over a year. People, that is unconstitutional and legally flawed. The next thing, this same gentleman attacks me in a barbershop. I'm lucky enough to physically be able to defend myself. This individual comes back a second time, people, with another individual to help him and with weapons, attacks me and causes me serious injury when he hits me in the head with a tire iron. He gets arrested with the tire iron. He confesses to the officer that he hit me with the tire iron, and the Richmond County District Attorney's Office dropped the charges against him. People, how is Clayton Howard crazy? Clayton Howard is not crazy. Clayton Howard is a man who is tired of local corruption and the misconduct of the office of Michael McMahon. Michael McMahon has been violating my civil rights for the past 5 years, people. Francina Evans was just the nail in the coffin, people. This has been happening to me since 2020. Since 2020, I have been maliciously prosecuted and had all of my victim rights eliminated and oppressed by the office of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, specifically Michael McMahon, who knows me personally, who has a personal hard-on for me, and who has tried to frame me, set me up, and intentionally violate my civil rights for the past 5 years, people. And documents don't lie, people. People lie within documents. How can I lie within the actual documents of the district attorney's office, people? I can't lie in a police officer's criminal complaint filed against a defendant. They can lie, or the officer can tell the truth. The prosecutor's presentation to a judge, that comes from the record of it. These documents were produced by the organizations that conduct. And I've shown you either that the documents are true and giving you evidence happened to violate my civil rights. You were a detective that falsified documents to make me a defendant, so they could not provide me with victim rights, which they were federal domestic violence law, people. Again, that's why I was falsely arrested on December 5th for Francina Evans. Because people, after December 1st, her charges were dropped. She needed an immediate that would help the Staten Island DA's office maintain this. So they had this officer, Joseph Quirk, create a fraud which they submitted to the office and put a final a criminal complaint restraining order against me to make it appear as though Francina needed the protection of the cops because I was trying to hurt her. They knew the truth, people. They knew I wanted nothing to do with her. Just like they knew I was a victim of this guy who attacked me and hit me in the head with a tire iron, people, and they let him off. Just like they knew I got gang assaulted by 5 people and they never prosecuted one of them. And the main offender who gang assaulted me, causing me to be crippled for a year, they gave him a misdemeanor and put no order of protection against him, which is against New York state law in a situation where a victim is seriously injured to the point where they suffer severe bodily injury that disables or impairs them for a significant portion of time. People, and then we have Gwen Carr, a woman who filed a false police report and later, upon discovery provided by the defendant, was proven to be a complete lie when the defendant provided proof that every month Ms. Carr claimed to have not heard from him. He had made a payment in excess of $500 to her and had numerous points of contact with her that month. Ladies and gentlemen, how have I not been framed by the District Attorney's Office of Staten Island? How have they not violated my procedural due process rights? How have they not violated my victim rights, people? I'm showing you literally that I got assaulted with a tire iron and the person who hit me in the head with a tire iron confessed to the cop. They arrested him with the tire iron. People, why did they drop the charges against him? There was no legal basis to drop those charges. The only legal basis was for them to deprive me any rights within the office, as they refused to communicate with me. People, I have never, as the victim of a crime, ever spoken to a representative from the Staten Island District Attorney's Office. Excuse me. And I've reached out to them. I've tried to get help. I've tried to get information about crimes where I was legitimately the victim. People, I got nothing. Never got a response. And it was in a situation where I was 100 people, I was seriously assaulted. They dismissed the counter complaint against the defendant just to make sure that I was open to any prosecution that they put across me. People, how is Mike McMahon not after Clayton Howard? How is there not a bias or a personal preference in here? If I'm being assaulted with tire irons and the cases are being dropped behind my back, what is going on? People, reporters, anyone watching this, I have the documents, people. You can't lie, Staten Island District Attorney's Office. Mike McMahon, you cannot lie about the things I'm saying. I challenge the office of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office. Prove I'm lying. Attack me. Attack me with something you have to prove I'm lying about the situations, 4 situations in the past 5 years where you violated my victim rights or my crime victim rights or my personal procedural rights in regards to offenses that you have maliciously prosecuted me on or conspired with the NYPD to frame me on. Because that's the truth, people. With Gwen Carr, that was a malicious prosecution. They didn't have anything to do with Gwen Carr making a false report, but once they became aware that report was false, they had an obligation to drop the charge, people. They didn't drop the charge. They pushed it, and they maliciously prosecuted me knowing I was innocent. The next thing, I get gang assaulted by 4 people, and to keep my image as a defendant against Gwen Carr, they drop all the charges against 5. They refuse to prosecute 5 people who gang assaulted me. People, how does that make sense? A year later, I get attacked with a deadly weapon, and people, what happens? The Staten Island District Attorney's Office refuses to prosecute the man who admittedly attacked me with a tire iron when I did nothing, and he confessed to it, people. And lastly, we have Francina Evans, a young woman who has lied on me, who days after being convicted of violating the New Jersey Prevention of Domestic Violence Act and receiving a final lifetime no-contact restraining order, which protected myself and my infant daughter from contact from Miss Evans, how is she allowed to file criminal charges on me, even though there was an order of protection from her out of the 120 precinct at the time of her conviction, which mysteriously was dismissed, and all allegations from another precinct that happened a year prior to her conviction were used in the 120 precinct to create a criminal complaint against me so I would be arrested for a misdemeanor. People, come on, make it make sense. How can I provide all of this proof of procedural due process violations and direct crime victims' rights violations by the office of Mike McMahon, and I be making all of this stuff up with documents to support all of this stuff? Staten Island, I might be a black man, and there may be many of you out there, Caucasians, Americans, who think, you know what, this doesn't affect me because I'm not black, I'm not Spanish. I don't have to worry about that because I'm a white American, and white Americans don't go through this. White Americans don't go through this until they do go through this. Until one day you happen to be driving and you catch, let's say you have a drink or two and you get pulled over. You know you're not drunk. You had a drink before you got in the car. But a cop decides to pull you over and arrest you and accuse you of a DWI, and you're not drinking, you're not drunk. Now, let's just say that cop happens to be some jackass you went to school with on Staten Island, St. Peter's, St. Joseph, Staten Islanders, you know how it go. A lot of these local cops are good kids you went to school with. They decide to prosecute you. They bring you before a DWI. The cop lies on you when he pulls you off and say you cross lane. People, we all go through malicious prosecution on Staten Island. It's the only way they keep themselves working, to tell you the truth. There is a lot of crime on Staten Island, people, but there's a lot more malicious prosecution. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of bending of the law and bending of the procedures in favor of other people who may need political favors. People, I wasn't someone's political favor. I was the victim of a crime on numerous occasions that the Staten Island District Attorney's Office intentionally violated. And I just want justice, people. My mission is to have them held to account. So Michael McMahon's offices grants me the resources they are denying me, even though they know I am the federally protected victim of the offenses in the domestic violence dispute between Francina Evans, my ex-girlfriend. They have been violating my civil rights for the past 5 years, people, and I've given you numerous situations that do not include my ex-girlfriend to show you the consistent pattern of procedural due process violations and victim rights violations that I have faced at the office in the direct hands of Michael McMahon, because people, I believe Mike McMahon is 100% responsible for this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm after justice. Until I get justice from the office of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, I'm going to keep hitting them over the head. I'm going to be off for a couple of days, people, because I got to do work and school tomorrow till Thursday, but I'll be back probably Thursday, maybe Wednesday night, and we'll start playing the recordings of captains, sergeants, lieutenants, all within the NYPD who confessed to me that the Staten Island District Attorney's Office was after me, that I had a problem, that the office of Michael McMahon was protecting my ex-girlfriend, even though they knew she was a criminal defendant. People, I'm going to let you hear lieutenants say this. I'm going to let you hear sergeants say this. I'm going to let you hear special investigators say this, that this is what was going on between my situation with the Richmond County District Attorney's Office and the unfair prosecutions and mistreatment that they gave my ex-girlfriend as opposed to me, who was the actual victim of that dispute. People, my mission is to expose the corruption of the office of Michael McMahon. Documents don't lie. People lie within documents. Clayton Howard didn't create these documents, but Clayton Howard is able to affirm the documents that they happened or disprove the mistruths that were reported by the text. I've definitively proved that the complaint that that officer filed against me was a complaint that my ex-girlfriend filed, which was actually the reason I was supposed to be detained if I was arrested. Violence restraining order. 2, the allegations used in the submitted the day after my criminal, the year prior to the offenses that allegedly violated the order of protection on December 1st, of 2022 for something that happened before the order of protection was ever granted in the Family Court of New York, people. He can't. It's illegal. But he did it because he had the DA involved in a conspiracy to deprive me of my rights and thereby lock me out of domestic violence resource. And we have to go because I want to be under an hour. But thank you for watching. When we come back, we'll start with Sergeant M. Parasante, who is a sergeant within the Staten Island 120 precinct, I believe 120 precinct, I may be wrong, who directly stated to me on a recorded telephone conversation that the Richmond County DA's office was after me and favoring my ex-girlfriend. This is not about embarrassing people anywhere, people. This is about telling the truth, because corruption on Staten Island and communities like Staten Island is a problem that we have to deal with. I was a victim. I was maliciously prosecuted and I was framed. I was horribly slandered and mistreated by local law enforcement, and my mission is to expose those members of law enforcement so they are removed from power and actual victims can receive help. Not bias, not discrimination, and most certainly not injustice. On behalf of the Rescuing Our Communities initiative to stop the misconduct within the Richmond County District Attorney's Office, I'm Clayton sounding off. Happy Easter. Jesus rose today for all of our sins, they say. Well, let's just pray that some of the sins of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, people, let's just say that those sins are brought to account so they may atone for their sins, people. They need to be accountable. Mike McMahon needs to be accountable. He should not be allowed to hide behind 11th Amendment protected immunity if he's violating minority rights and putting innocent people in jail just to protect the image of his office. That's not right. That's not why he was elected. And I don't know about you. I don't think a man who falsifies complaints against people and uses social media to corrupt the community when he's violating minority rights deserves to be in office. That's just my opinion, people. And it's an opinion I'm going to stand on until something convinces me different. And I seriously doubt anything will. So on behalf of Justice and Operation Rock, people, thank you. It's been a great day. Enjoy your Easter.